What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, well, it's a victory Friday, and it feels damn good. They beat the Tennessee Titans in Week 9, 20-16. Another fourth quarter experience, another fourth quarter comeback for Kenny Pickett and company. Some major changes for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense prior to this game that seemingly worked out for them in their favor against the Tennessee Titans. We'll dive into those, plus a little bit of drama developing in the wide receiver core and our thoughts on Kenny Pickett's performance with another comeback in Week 9. It is a sunny, beautiful day in the Berg. Yesterday was as perfect a football weather, I think, as you could possibly get walking into the stadium, even leaving it at night. It was beautiful at 1 a.m. I think that just comes with the Pittsburgh Steelers win. How are we feeling, my friend?
You know, I'd love to say that a win has me energized, ready to go. Just not feeling the 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. bedtime at all. But no. You're still feeling it the day after. I'm a little sleepy this morning.
Yeah, it's anytime you crawl into bed and you look at the alarm clock and you go, all right, four hours. Anytime you have to count the amount of sleep you're about to get, it's going to be a rough time.
If it fits on one hand, that's when you know you got a problem.
Yeah, it's always real rough. I was telling you guys before we jumped on here, I did my to-go at about like 2:30 in the morning last night, and as I finished and uploaded it to YouTube, I was just sitting there. I was going, this is not good. This is, you're not doing quality work at 2:30 in the morning. But that's what comes with Thursday night games. That's just what you get. It was a thriller. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't seem to do it any other way this season. 20-16 over the Titans. There are two major changes. That's where we got to start. Matt Canada moved from the box to the sideline the first time in 3 years, seemingly worked in the Pittsburgh Steelers' favor. They score an opening drive touchdown instantly. The place is rocking. Everybody immediately was like, all right, Canada is never going back up to the box ever again. From there, seemed to have a flow most of the game. A fun stat for the Pittsburgh Steelers here. They did two things last night offensively. They either scored points or they went 3 and out. There was no in between. There was no 2 first downs and a punt, nothing. They either kicked a field goal, scored a touchdown, went 3 and out. Feels like a win for them. Canada comes down to the sideline. Everybody seems to be a fan. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I wasn't on the sideline, so I can't tell you exactly how it changed things or how it worked out actually, functionally on the sideline. But, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, it seemed like this did work. Hearing from the players after the game, it seemed like it streamlined communication. They were able to just talk to him more easily and get things across, face to face that maybe they weren't able to over a headset. It seemed like in the second half that it helped them make adjustments more quickly and more clearly. Like I said, we're probably never going to know just how much this stuff actually helps. But, if it results in a win, if it results in 20 points, I don't know where that ranks among how many points they've scored this year. Like I think they scored more in the Raiders game, and that might be it.
That might be it. Yeah.
They scored more in the Browns game where they had, they did score more in the LA game too. But even that, they got set up with a turnover, and then the Browns game, they scored more than 20, but they got 2 defensive touchdowns. So I don't know if that really counts, but this was good. This was good, and I guess like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It seemed like something was working.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, as soon as if you could score an opening drive touchdown with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, you don't change that. Whatever you did, it worked. You continue to do it moving forward. I felt like everybody afterwards was, a fan of it. Deontay Johnson said that it was nice to kind of have Canada down there to just talk through things. Jaylen Warren said the same thing. I think what the best thing was is that you watched it from the box. Canada would sit down with Kenny after every single drive. They'd go through a lot of stuff. They'd go through the past drive and then what they expect on the upcoming drive. And then he'd make his rounds. Like he'd go over and talk to the wide receiver core, and then he'd talk to the offensive lineman, and then he'd go back to Kenny. And I'm like, That's huge. Like it's not just your quarterback who has struggled this season. It's all facets of your offense. And to have that time to sit there and say, okay, hey, this is what we got to improve on. This is what we're doing. Even if it's just encouragement, even if you just go over there and you're like, hey guys, things are going to be fine. That was a bad drive. We'll get them on the next time. That's like, you're like part of it. I felt like Canada prior to this week being up in the box, it was almost as if it was like a disconnect. It was just like the Pittsburgh Steelers, Matt Canada's all the way up there. Nobody really cares about him. If he's down there, I felt like he was part of the mix. He was part of the team. Also thought it was very interesting just watching everybody just like analyze Canada all night long. Like at one point I saw a tweet that said that he's like 10 yards behind the play while calling the play. I thought that was hilarious just because like we now like it didn't matter what was happening on the field. Canada was doing his thing on the sideline and everybody's just like, all right, what's different? Let's talk about it. I think it was huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't expect it to change, which sucks for Canada because it's about to get real cold outside and he's about to freeze. That was my first thought. I was just like, dude, you were in the comfy box for 3 years and everything was just nice and warm and heated up there. And now you got to go on the sideline and just sweat it and just freeze it out for the next 2 months, 2.5 months. That's a rough time, but it was a victory. I got to say, I think it was it enough for you to, put some worries away about this offense? Because I think, overall it was probably their most complete game, even if it wasn't perfect.
Yeah, and to your point about it not being perfect, I mean, I thought the structure of the offense was good. Like guys were running open. The running game really worked. Whenever they struggled to put up points or gain yards, it wasn't really on Matt Canada. It was someone else's fault, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But he schemed open. He schemed guys open, and he got like I think especially the Deontay touchdown. Like if you saw the I mean, you obviously saw it from the booth, but like the play design on that was awesome. Like it was a great play for the moment. And it like designed a perfectly open Deontay Johnson. It was great. And just being able to get the running game going off of that was really huge too. And I expect it to continue as well. And like I said, is if they can clean up the one biggest issue that they had from this game, like the sky's the limit for this offense.
Yeah, and I think that is where we go next with this is there was one very alarming piece to the offense that did not click, that continued to struggle. Obviously, he had a fourth quarter comeback. He continues to do his thing. Kenny comeback is a real thing. But Kenny Pickett struggled against the Tennessee Titans. There were really never a moment prior to that fourth quarter and that game-winning drive. I mean, there was some here or there. I thought the opening drive was good. But even then, there was 2, maybe 3 missed passes. And his one great pass, or his one real crucial catch to Allen Robinson, was like a full yard behind him on that opening drive. Outside of a few passes, I thought Kenny Pickett struggled. Obviously, he had the rib injury. People are going to talk about that if that's a concern. But these concerns have happened all season long. What were your thoughts on Kenny last night? How worried are you about Kenny Pickett? And also at the same time, like how much are you using the rib injury as an excuse to kind of overlook things?
I think Kenny was not very good for about, call it 80% of this game. I mean, really up until he had the first drive and the last drive. And I felt like the rest of that, it was real iffy. Just missing open receivers, like wide open receivers.
Yes.
And it wasn't missing by a couple inches or something. It was missing by, a couple feet or something. It was like overthrowing George Pickens, which, man, that is hard to do,
Yes.
Just misfires that were completely baffling. I feel like it's a little bit of like the Jesse Eisenberg meme where he's like, he can't keep getting away with this. Like Kenny can't, like it's, I mean, he obviously has gotten away with it, but he's, to a certain extent, but he's not very good for the vast majority of games. But as long as it's a close game, you feel extremely confident that if you give him the ball, in a 1-score game with less than 7 or 8 minutes left, you feel like he's going to get you a win out of that. So that's good. But I mean, it's just why does this stuff not work in the first or second or third quarters? And the rib injury, like I believe that maybe had somewhat of an impact on him, but that also that begs the question again: why did it work so well in the fourth quarter on that last drive, on that first drive, without, the kind of same results in the middle third or whatever, middle three quarters of that game.
Yeah.
It didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the thing with the rib injury, and I get it, I'm not trying to like overlook a injury that he was very clear, hey, this hurts when I throw the football. Okay, well, that's a massive part of your job. Yeah. I get that. But at the same time, like, this isn't the first time that this happened. This wasn't one bad game from Kenny Pickett. This has been 8 games all season long where Kenny Pickett is good in the fourth quarter. I mean, except for like San Francisco and Houston, outside of those 2 games. So 6 out of the 8 games, Kenny Pickett has only been good in the second half of a game or in the final quarter of a game, and he hasn't been good throughout the entire rest of the game. So I can't use it as an excuse. Like, I can't look at the rib injury and say, oh, well, Kenny was hurt. That's why it took him a while, and he saved it all for the end. Like, no, that's just what Kenny does. That's just who he is as a quarterback. I think that there were limitations there in what he was physically able to do, but I also think that he's done all of these things all season long. He has missed deep shots because he has underthrown or overthrown guys. He has overthrown almost every receiver on this roster, or thrown behind them, or thrown at their feet. I mean, that Allen Robinson touchdown prior to I think it was earlier in the game, but that Allen Robinson in the end zone where he like skips it to him, I'm just watching that play and I'm going, that's a touchdown if you can make an NFL throw. Like, that's most quarterbacks are going to make that throw. Allen Robinson should have been in the end zone. That was huge. The opening drive where he threw not one but 2 of them over Deontay's head, that was bad. And the Calvin Austin one keeps coming back to me, but that was real bad. That's a touchdown too.
That one I'm willing to be a little bit more forgiving on. He probably could have put more on that, but he also had pressure like right in his face as he was trying to throw that one. I
agree, but I also think that in the NFL, like if he's made one of those throws ever, I'd be like, all right, like, but he's just never. He always underthrows guys when it's deep. I will say that that pass to Deontay down the sideline, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah,
I saw people trying to be like, "Oh, well, that's lucky." If the DB turns his head around at all, like that's a PBU. Like,
no, that was a dime.
He didn't. Well, he didn't. Like, so I don't really know what you want. Like, yeah, it's I think also, didn't that pass to Calvin down the middle, that hit Calvin in his hands, didn't it? Like,
no, it got past.
Oh, it didn't?
I thought so too, and then they showed the replay and it like comes down into the defender's arms. Like, Calvin doesn't even get a hand on it. Because I thought the same thing, and I was like, oh, all right, well, underthrown, but you got to make a play on that one. Right. That was on Kenny. But again, he has that moment against Deontay. He has the fourth quarter. Like, my thoughts are this. If the Pittsburgh Steelers could play exactly how they played last night, they'll win games. And they'll win a lot of games, and they'll have opportunities against really good teams. But my thoughts are also like, okay, how long do you go? You can't live, you cannot develop a team and say, all right, well, our quarterback is unavailable to us for the first 3 quarters, but that fourth quarter, man, he's going to turn it on. And as long as we keep it close, he should win a ball game. That's just way too much. That's not a winning formula for any team. I don't know how long you keep it going, but for right now, that's my biggest concern.
Right, and there would be games where you can pull yourself out of an early deficit if you have a quarterback who's ready to go right from the jump. Like, they probably wouldn't be 5-3 right now. They could be 6-2 or 7-1. Like, if they're a little bit more competitive early on in that Texans game, I don't think it gets out of hand later in the way that it did. If you can get something going against the Jaguars early on, I mean, you only lost by 10 to the Jaguars. If you score 20 points, you're at least in overtime. It's that part of it is frustrating. I think is that they kind of I don't think you're particularly unhappy maybe with where they're at right now, but you just think about kind of the lost potential because you spend 3 quarters or 2 quarters messing around or just playing without an offense for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're set up where your defense has to carry your offense. I mean, Tomlin said it last week. He goes, yeah, we got two turnovers, but they weren't really advantageous turnovers. And they're like, yeah, they weren't advantageous. Like they weren't touchdowns. They didn't get you into the red zone, but they stopped touchdowns. Both of them were in the red zone. Like, it's either points on the board or you get the ball back. That's as advantageous as it gets. But you can't make the most out of that. Like, that's just it's too much pressure to put on your defense. And the craziest part is, like, after watching yesterday, it's like Canada could lead an offense. He could design an offense. We've seen it more than once this season that can go out there and win, and that could carry a defense. He just doesn't have the quarterback that's making throws, and it becomes, very, very concerning about, like, I think the biggest thing is just like Kenny sets the ceiling for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Are they a playoff team? Can they beat teams like the Buffalo Bills or the Miami Dolphins or the Kansas City Chiefs? It all depends on if Kenny Pickett shows up for more than a quarter. If he does, cool, you got an opportunity because you have the defense and you have the running game, and now the offensive line looks good. If he doesn't, I think you go into those games and you're thinking there's no way we're about to get smoked. There's just no way that you could hold on to these guys. I don't know. Like, you can't give up on Kenny, right? Like, you're not putting Mitch in. You're not even thinking about Mason. Like, this is Kenny Pickett's team for the rest of the season. Do you hit a point? Because I think I've hit a point where this back half is so crucial that I think if nothing does turn around in the offseason, you got to make you have to at least consider a change. I don't know where that change is, but at least you have to consider it.
I don't know if I'm there yet. I think okay. There's still something here. I'm not ready to like completely throw Kenny out just yet. I'll admit right away that he's part of the problem right now, in a way that I don't think people had kind of been given proper credit to for most of the season. But I don't know. Like, I just think about what your options may be. Like, what are you gonna draft one? Are you gonna use?
That's my thought. Is like, what are you doing?
Right, a third or fourth round pick on a quarterback, and then I don't know. Like, I don't think the free agent class is going to be particularly enticing. And then even then, like, how much money do you have to spend on a quarterback? Like, I think the question has to be, do you know that you can upgrade? Because I don't know if that's certain. And to be like perfectly fair to Kenny, like, there's a lot of reasons that you could kind of explain away some of these struggles, like the inconsistencies of the offensive line, the inconsistencies of the run game. His receivers haven't always been perfect. I mean, he's got a good group, but there's a little bit left to be desired there. I mean, and then also, like, there was the fact that, like, Matt Canada wasn't, last night was his best game. Last night was his best game, I think, since he's, I don't know, I can't say, I guess, since he's been in Pittsburgh, but since
he's been in Pittsburgh.
Right. Well, okay, since, like, at least since Kenny's taken over as starting quarterback, that was his best game. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I think you got to give it a little bit more time than this, but sure. I guess if you get the kind of same results where Kenny doesn't play for 3 quarters and then somehow brings it alive in the fourth, you can start asking questions about, well, is there a quarterback out there who can play for 4 quarters instead of 1? Like, let's you can start having that conversation.
I think what, just like you said, like, they're in a spot where it's tough to upgrade. I think that's my biggest qualm here is, like, you're not going to draft quarterback with the 22nd pick or the 23rd pick, whatever you end up with. You're not signing Kirk Cousins. Like, that's not going to happen. You're going to be looking at, like, Tyler Heineke's and, Malik Willis's and saying, like, all right, well, maybe we can make something out of these guys. But no, you can't. And I think maybe you do go get a better backup just in case, because Mitch isn't the guy. And, I just think at some point you gotta get somebody back there who, if you do put in the ball game, you are confident could win. I think a guy like Tyler Heineke could be an option there, but he's not an upgrade, and just like you said, like, you got to rock with what you got because you got salary cap implications and the whole 9. But it is concerning. Like, it's concerning that if the rest of it clicks, and Kenny doesn't, where you at? Like, what if Canada has a phenomenal rest of the season? And that's a big if. That's a giant, giant, giant if. But Canada has, if we're going to be honest, Canada has 1 complete game this season. Kenny Pickett has 0. And scoreboard is concerning because I'd rather it be the other way. You could replace your offensive coordinator. That's the easiest thing to do in the NFL. There are a million quarterback coaches out there who are just waiting for the opportunity for somebody to hire them as an offensive coordinator. It is so hard to find a franchise quarterback. It is the hardest thing to do in the NFL. And that's where things get concerning. But I think Will Levis looked last night like a guy who can make NFL throws, and Kenny didn't. And that's what worries me. Even if it didn't come out with a win, I watched Levis and I just went, that guy's got the arm. That guy's got the ability.
I went into that game thinking like, oh, Will Levis is someone I'm gonna think stinks no matter how well he plays. Like I'm just always
Yeah,
gonna have this stink on him. No, he looked great. I was really impressed with him. He was nice.
that's what I'm saying. Like he looks like an NFL capable quarterback, and I think Kenny still has not, like, he just hasn't done those things yet consistently enough where it's just like, oh, okay, well, Kenny can be that guy too, outside of a couple throws here. But again, we can't make decisions. No changes will be made anytime soon. So this is just strictly our thoughts on Kenny Pickett and the fact that he is most certainly struggling. Let's go back to some changes for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Broderick Jones replaces Chuks Okorafor as the right tackle. According to Chuks, it was an incident after the Jaguars game on Sunday that forced the decision, and the Steelers went with the rookie at right tackle over the 6-year vet. Chuks is his cap hit, I believe, is just under $20 million this season. They do not have an out until after the year, where I believe his dead cap next year is just over $3 million. So that's available, but he is your most expensive offensive lineman this year, including Isaac Seumalo and James Daniels, who are both signed in free agency. Broderick looked good in my opinion. Do you got thoughts?
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. I mean, the team numbers kind of tell you the story. I mean, 165 yards rushing. That was the best the run game has looked in how long? Like, freaking
Yeah,
while.
all year.
Yeah, and then no sacks on a night where you couldn't afford to let Kenny take any hits, Like it seemed like I got the sense from the way he talked this week, that rib injury was precarious, It was delicate. It was a delicate situation, and they handled him with care. No sacks against that defensive line is huge. That is great, and Broderick played his part in it. He looked athletic, getting to the second level to block on a bunch of these runs and spring some big ones for Najee and Jalen. And that run game like saved him, Like they needed the run game to get going so badly, and they were able to kickstart it, and Broderick was a big part of that, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I was expecting some struggles. I thought that, the rookie going from the left side, his natural position, to the right side, this was going to be bad. It was going to draw a ton of concern for him moving forward. No, Broderick looked like a stud. Now my only concern is if you rock him at right tackle all season and then you move him to the left side next year, is he still going to be good? Or is it going to give you an excuse to just say, oh, well, Dan Moore's fine and this is our offensive line, which maybe I'm okay with, but I would rather Broderick to be on the left side and then you go find a right tackle either in the draft or somewhere else. I mean, do I even have to ask this? Does Chuks start again this season?
No way. You can't send Chuks back out there. Like I don't know what the incident was. I don't know what he did. I don't know the extent of it, but even if he didn't have any kind of, anything disciplinary hanging above him, Broderick was way too good, I think, to bench him. Like, I think until Broderick stinks, quite honestly, like you got to treat Broderick like he's a veteran. Like this is a normal situation, because he looked so beyond what you thought a rookie would look like. He was not perfect, I guess, but he was damn close. Like you didn't notice him at all, which for an offensive line is, well, that's not true. I did notice him, but I mean, you weren't sitting there going,
you noticed him in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. And for an offensive lineman to stay relatively quiet is pretty good. You just kind of looked up at halftime and you're in like, Kenny's jersey's pretty clean. They're running the ball real well. Like, this is good. This is good. No complaints. Yeah, and he was so. No. I just don't see how you could put Chuks back in there after a night like Broderick had.
No, I agree. And like you think about it, like, was there any offensive linemen that were complained about last night? Nobody was complaining about Dan Moore. Nobody was complaining about Mason Cole. Nobody was complaining about Broderick Jones. It was just a good offensive line play. And maybe it's just that simple. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a guy, Kenny said it afterwards. He's like, yo, Broderick brings so much energy. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe you need some young energy out there to just like get everybody going and feel confident in these guys. And I don't know what happened with Chuks, but if he said something after the Jaguars game that he shouldn't have said as a 6-year vet, maybe leadership wise, he's not the guy that you want out there, and morale wise, he's not the guy that you want out there. I think talent alone, Broderick Jones starts the rest of the season, and you're crazy if you make the move. Like just how good the running game was last night. was enough for me to say like, oh, okay, well, like why would you want to go back? Najee Harris ran faster than I've ever seen Najee Harris run in his entire life. Jaylen Warren was explosive. Broderick Jones was pulling from the right side to the left side on runs, like Trent Williams style blocking. It was all around great. And to make that, I mean, you can't make that move. You can't. I know Chooks maybe is just a 1-game discipline, but I don't care if he's your most expensive lineman at this point in the season. Whatever, it's there. It's a loss. We're 9 weeks into this thing. Just start the rookie. Like, you're not taking a cap hit at this point. It's already happened. Like, who cares if your most expensive lineman is on the bench? You made a mistake. Who cares?
Yeah, you already eaten that money. Don't like double down on it just because you've already you're paying him that money. Yeah, Broderick was, so if I remember correctly, like his knock coming out of the draft was decent pass blocker, but struggles in the run game. Like struggles to be a little physical.
No,
there.
Opposite.
Oh,
great
really?
run blocker.
Well, then
great run blocker, super athletic, struggled in the pass game.
Well, I mean then that makes a lot more sense what we saw last night. But even like even in pass pro, like 0 sacks is 0 sacks. Like that's real good. I mean he also
I don't even think he gave up a pressure.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see like, okay, the competition is going to take a step up, after this Packers game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's Browns and Bengals are back to back after that.
Yeah, Packers, Cleveland, Cincy, Arizona.
Okay, so those Browns and Bengals games are gonna be pretty telling. I feel like that's where you're really gonna see if you got something here. Because Titans got a decent pass rush, but they're not elite on the level of Cleveland and Cincinnati, who you're gonna see more often. You're gonna see those guys twice a year. So that's when I think we can really start to make some serious judgments about Broderick, but you got to leave him in to answer those tests and to let those guys challenge him and see what you got.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. That's the easiest decision the Pittsburgh Steelers can make moving forward. The other one is that Joey Porter Jr. should always mirror the star wide receiver for an opposing team. Like, that was the most badass thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers have done all season long, is Joey going up to the coaches at halftime and saying, yo, look, I want Hopkins, man. Just put me out. I'll shut him down. And it worked. Like, that guy had 3 touchdowns on 4 receptions last week. And this week he did absolutely nothing. I mean, you got 2 guys that you looked at this draft class 3 weeks ago and you were like, okay, Joey looks good, but like, we have no idea what he's going to do in a starting role. Broderick, he looked good in the one start, but like, again, like,
we haven't really seen.
We have no idea. Yeah, you're entering week 10 and you're just like, this is a great draft class. Actually, this is Keanu Benton looked real good last night. Like, Darnell Washington caught a pass. Darnell Washington caught a pass last night.
Everybody,
it was a good one for the draft class. Everybody had fun. Nick Herbig's been playing well. It was a great night for the Pittsburgh Steelers draft class. And I think that's where you go from here. You know what I mean? Like, just build on your young guys and say, hey, let's start utilizing this talent in the back half of the season and see if it carries us, because the veterans had the Steelers here. And I like, that's a winning record maybe, but I think you just add a little boost to talent and, you start to rise. And I think that we saw that, especially with Broderick, but Joey Porter too, man. He had one hell of a game. All right. Next thing I want to talk about, a little drama brewing in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Maybe we're making too much of this, but I think everybody's making a lot of this at this point. George Pickens caught, I believe, 1 pass last night, 2 passes for -1 yards. Not great. I have him in fantasy football. Super not great. Had an opportunity at a touchdown. Didn't drag the foot on a play that, I mean, very unlike George Pickens at this point. But at the end of the game, there was some frustrations. I read tweets. I wasn't watching the broadcast that they showed like Deontay Johnson trying to calm him down at one point. He looked miserable every single time the camera went over to him, even after the touchdown to Deontay Johnson, who caught his first touchdown in 668 days. As a teammate, you should be pretty hyped about that one. I get it. 2 back-to-back really poor performances for this guy. Is there a concern for you? Is there a growing concern? Is there any worry on your end at all that there could be some drama or a situation brewing for George Pickens?
I mean, a little bit, and just only because I don't really know what George is upset about. I mean, this is a guy who has
Hmm.
accounted for like a third of the team's receiving yards, about half of their receiving touchdowns, and a little bit under a quarter of their total targets. Like, this guy's getting fed. I
Yeah.
mean, he's getting his fair share of targets, and he's getting. I know he's getting what you'd expect. I'm willing to call him a number one receiver. At this point, he's getting what a
Yeah.
number
Of
one
course.
receiver should, and so I just don't really know what he's mad at. Like, okay, yeah, you had a bad game. It just didn't work out, but the passing game wasn't really working for anyone. Like,
Yeah.
does he think he's the only one who's frustrated? Does he think he's the only one who's maybe missing out on some production because of the struggles of the offense as a whole? Like, everyone's going through it, man. But you gotta like, I get it. It sucks, but you got to keep your head up a little bit. You got to like power through it. You got to fight a little bit, and you got to be able to compartmentalize and like say that one drive, one game that doesn't affect what you can do moving forward, and that this stuff is just like gonna happen during his career. Like, it's going to. I like.
Yes.
Sorry, you're gonna have bad games. You're gonna have games where you don't get a ton of targets, and I don't know. It's also harder to be really forgiving of a guy getting super frustrated like this when, like you said, he didn't drag his foot. Like, he could have had a touchdown and
Yeah.
just didn't drag his foot. And like, don't want to pretend like I could do anything that George Pickens does, but man, he had a lot of room
No.
to get that second foot in. Like, he had a lot of room. That's
Oh
a
yeah.
play that he not only has to make, but that you expect him to make pretty easily most of the time. So just I think you lose a little bit of the right to get real angry, real publicly at you know everyone else, and to sulk on the sidelines if you're not making every play that you possibly can.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I think there's a part of it that maybe he's just upset with himself.
Yeah.
He did not speak after the game. He was like I don't know if he was in the shower or what, but I was in the locker room for a half hour. I didn't see
Mhm.
him one. I didn't see a jersey. I didn't see cleats taken off, nothing. So he avoided everybody. And I always think that's a little telling of just like, hey, look at, I don't want to take the risk of this getting any bigger than it is. I
Yeah.
think he acknowledges that, which I think is a good thing. Like I'd
Yeah.
rather a player do that than go, like last week Deontay's freaking out in the refs, and in my head, I mean, everybody saw Mark Kaboly's face, but in my head, I'm sitting there listening and going, "Oh my gosh, man, stop talking, dude! You're gonna get
Yeah.
fined. This is so much worse. Just go complain to Mike Tomlin or somebody." Like, I get it, I understand you. I feel like sometimes you just have to avoid the media. And I think that was a good move by George Pickens. But not knowing where that frustration lies is worrisome, because Deontay's out here having great games since his return. George is quieting down because he's getting more double teams. And like, that's the thing is, when George is getting double teamed and Deontay's not on the field, you're still going to look for George because it's still George and he's going to beat those double teams. But when Deontay's on the field, Deontay's open. Like, why are you waiting for George to beat a double team when Deontay is fully capable of going for 100 yards and 10 catches? Like, that's just an expectation. He's a wide receiver one as well, and I think that's the thing, is like, that's where it becomes concerning, is how long is this going to go, because teams are always going to double team George. Because I mean, like, I don't know what Deontay has on the year so far, but I mean, in this game, he averaged 12.9 catches, or 12.9 yards per catch. George is at like over 14 or like close to 18 or some crazy number like that on the season. That's a guy that you're going to double team every single time because that's explosive plays. And look at if it turns into drama, very concerning. If it doesn't, cool. But just like you said, you had an opportunity at a touchdown. You didn't really celebrate afterwards. Fans are noticing it on Twitter that you are noticeably upset on the sideline. That is concerning. And like Colin Dunlap in 93.7, the fan said it the day before the game. He said, George has every right to have a meltdown if the offense struggles. I don't think he has every right to have a meltdown if it doesn't struggle. But just like Dunlap said, like, he's a wide receiver. So that means if he's good, he's a diva. And that is always a little bit concerning because I think that's true. And, I just don't want to see it get worse because I think George Pickens is super, super good.
Yeah. And I think we've like talked about this before, but like, there's a difference between getting upset or getting angry in a productive way where he's like, fired up and
Yeah.
like, you know, ready to work even harder to make sure that he gets his and that the offense keeps moving. But this didn't seem
Yep.
like that. This seems like a little bit of
No.
sulking, like I said. Like the fact that you don't celebrate a landmark moment with Deontay like that. Like that's I don't know, that's a huge moment for Deontay, and you should be happy for your teammates. I don't know.
Yes.
Not understanding everything that goes on in that locker room and their relationship, that seemed a little, that was just not George's finest hour, and he has every right to get mad about things, but don't make it unproductive or don't do it to the detriment of other guys in the team.
Yes. Yes. I mean, and you got to look at Pat Fryermuth's caught a pass all season in the games
Right.
that he's been in. Connor Hayward's done almost nothing. Allen Robinson's done very little. These guys,
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to chill and wait your turn, and it'll come. And that's what George has to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about final thing I want to wrap up the show with. Every Monday, I guess today's Friday. Man, today's Friday. We got football all weekend. That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. All right. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 5-3. They're heading into week 10. They're still 2-0 in the division. Another win in the AFC, which is going to be huge in the playoff race. I mean, they look good last night for the most part. How where do you stand with the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward?
Well, still a little concerned because I think the division around them is getting much better by the week. Maybe not Cleveland,
Yes.
but definitely Cincinnati and Baltimore. Those two are both starting to look like Super Bowl contenders again. So I think the standard has gotten raised for the Steelers. They certainly looked better last night, I thought, but I don't know. I still feel like I need more from them because the rest of their direct competition has gotten better.
Yes.
And it has picked up. So like I said, I want more. I want to see more to prove to me that this is, I guess, not even an elite team, but a team capable of making the playoffs. But then again, the results have been decent. Yeah, there's some stinkers hidden in there, but those wins look pretty good, and they keep doing it. They keep winning. There are very few teams that have gone through this entire year without laying a complete egg. Even the Kansas City Chiefs do it. And I know this team isn't on that level, but NFL teams lose a lot of games. That stuff happens. Teams don't just rip off 16-0, 17-0. The Steelers are taking their licks just like everyone else, but they've managed to do that while also jumping out to a 5-3 record. That's, I don't know. That's an accomplishment in and of itself. So, like I said, I want to see more, but I guess I'm still asking myself how much do I need to see, because they just kind of keep winning. They just kind of figure it out.
I agree. I look at them every time they lose and I say, is this a playoff team? How concerned should people be? Are they going to be able to pull it together? How far can they drown? And every time they win, I just go, all right, well, they're pretty far above water. It's not like their neck is above water and they're just all right, well, we're breathing. That's fine. They're 5-3. They're 5-3. That's a good record to have heading into week 10. Teams would kill for a 5-3 record. They're sitting there. They're feeling real good. They're still undefeated in the AFC North. I think that is so significant. People are talking about, no, well, just like you said, the AFC North is getting tougher. I 100% agree with that. They pull out wins in Cleveland and Cincinnati in the next 3 weeks. They're 4-0 in the AFC North. 4-0. At that point, you're in the playoffs. You're not, it's not maybe you're in the playoffs. You got 7 wins. I think that the back half of the season has a lot of opportunities for the Pittsburgh Steelers to not only just continue to win, but also to pull off a couple of really meaningful games that could solidify you as a playoff team. Again, every time they lose, I get worried that this is the beginning of the end, and man, how far are they going to drop and how bad is this talent? Every time they win, I'm like, yeah, all right, this team's got it. It's got everything it takes to get into the postseason. I'll say that my most promising aspect of this game, the reason that I am so confident leaving this game in the Pittsburgh Steelers, is because of what Matt Canada and the running game and the offensive line did. And even what the defense did without Minkah Fitzpatrick. There were so many things going against them and so many things clicked in the right way and stepped up in a big way. And I just thought it was huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's going to be huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think a win, like I thought that was going to be a loss. I predicted a loss. We are now, I think I still got you by a game, but I predicted a loss.
The final score was 2016. I had 21-17. Brutal. I was so close.
That's as close as it gets, though. That's as close as it gets.
Yeah.
I feel like they blew away my expectations. Even with a close game, they blew away my expectations, and that makes me feel very good about where they are and confident that this is right now a playoff team that is heading in the right direction, which is what you want in the back half of the season. With that said, we're heading out here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast and find all of our work at allsteelers.com and our pit coverage at InsideThePanthers.com. Enjoy a football-filled weekend that doesn't involve the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you are a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan, Thursday night games are great just because you get to just enjoy football stress-free all weekend long, which is, what I plan to do on Sunday is to not leave my couch. I actually called Pops Monday, I think, and I was just like, hey, what you doing this weekend? He's like, nothing. I'm like, you should come down to Pittsburgh. I got a free Sunday. We can watch some football. Pops is on his way. Going to eat some pizza, drink some beer, and just hang out as everybody should with stress-free football. With that said, enjoy another beautiful day in the Burgh, a beautiful weekend in the Burgh, and a Victory Friday, Pittsburgh Steelers Nation. Peace.